we're at a major transition. Every time we've had a major transition of, let's say, the speed of the social order. So we used to be on horses, and so a silver and a gold standard of actual coins being exchanged was good enough, right? Because we traveled by horses pulling us, or we rode on them. We got to automobiles, and at the same time we get into automobiles and trains, we get to the point where it's not good enough to carry a lot of gold and silver coins. We need some vehicle better than that, and so we're all really into paper. As we get into the jet age, we've got to get that paper accelerating. It's got to go faster. And so we start going to direct deposit and digital representation of your bank account. So it's not just little line, not numbers written in a little passbook kind of a thing, but it's simply 100% digital. We're all on a digital system now with the jet airplanes, but now we're going into space. And we're going to get into space-based businesses and so on. And so the speed of the money potential, even within the digital dollars, is not sufficient, and it's also not as secure and robust as we need, and therefore now we've got the cryptocurrencies. They're the new wave of the future relative to money. In a generation, that generation will, 20 years from now, they'll look back and they'll never have handled coins, never have handled checks, and will never really have dealt very much with centrally issued digital dollars. Every couple of months we get a nice new consolidation within the Bitcoin price. And this is what forms the backside of what I've called crocodile teeth. Not being a chartist, it just looks like crocodile teeth. And to get to the backside, you have these big, very precipitous drops. And it is these precipitous drops that are going to kill the idea of a futures market, because you'll always end up being stopped on limits, because Bitcoin likes dropping 20 and 30% when it does it, and it may do that 6 times a year. And so it's going to be somewhat unpredictable and unstable for the futures. They won't be able to hold on. And it's just a very interesting time. I suspect that the data sets will still be right, and that we'll shed 13,880. We'll see the last of it sometime before mid-February. Underlying pressure. So companies that are involved in the crypto sphere, in the crypto space, will be bringing out products that will be accepted in the market and be very successful. And their actions will cause draw more people into the crypto space, and that will bring the pressure that will bust Bitcoin out of this current set of range that's going to hover around 13,800. And I'm not saying that's a midpoint or anything. That's just the number that we get in our data. It may drop down to 10,000, although it seems within the data sets that it's going to hover closer to the 13,000 on the bottom. But it may go as high as 17, 18,000 again, and then drop down, and then back up and drop down again. There's some indications we're going to see 13,800 on an up cycle 3 times again, the same way we did the $428. Seems like a lifetime ago, but it was barely 2 years. And as we get into, as I've maintained for all of last year, and is still showing in the data for this report, as we get into mid-February, those who have the ability to look forward will see just 15, 18 days from then, so early March, the beginning of of our next big up leg within the crypto space in general, as I say, the bottom up pressure builds with these new products coming on out. A lot of the products are going to be extremely, wildly successful, and it's going to get us into another euphoric burst that will carry us through into May. And then there's this other aspect of it, that really needs serious consideration. And so I'm going to state it a different way than I have in the past, but it has to do with the adoption cycle for technology. And we've got a situation where if you want to look at it one way, there's, as I've described it, there's about 1.5 to 3% of the population that we can consider to be innovators. Now, the next tranche of the people that are coming into Bitcoin are not the innovators. They're the variously described as early adopters or visionaries. And in the past, I've described it as the process of these people coming on in, but let me just state it as the lump sum, so to speak. If we look at the total population of the planet, and say that there's maybe 1.5% of the population of the planet that's involved in cryptocurrencies. Well, this next tranche, this next cohort that's coming in is 13.5% of the population. And see, this is what's going to kill the idea of futures, because we're still going to form these crocodile teeth. And so each and every time that we do so, we're going to have a correction that will probably be, I mean, Bitcoin seems to like these corrections, these consolidations of around 30 to 40%. And that's when we establish our strong hands and wash out the weak players. And it's not like a minor correction of 3 or 4 or 5% that you might see in a controlled market like the stock market. And so people have a visceral feeling in their guts. We get these impressions coming into the data so that we know that when these things are coming. And the action is the 30% drops will be from higher levels to a higher low as we're still on this building trend, but it's not going to be able to be maintained as exponential. These little exponential bursts, like from 10,000 to 17,000, that nearly straight line that you would see in the charts, those always precede the consolidation, and that forms the backside of the crocodile tooth. And we have a number of those lined out for this next year, and some really big numbers, because coincidentally, of course, when you get to, so one way to look at it is, well, within our data sets, as we get close to 64,000, we're going to get another one of these. Well, at 60,000,
64,000. I want to just $64,000 this year for Bitcoin.
Not in 2017. No.
I mean, I'm sorry, 2018. 2018.
Yeah.
64,000 in 2018. You think Bitcoin will hit?
Oh, it'll go higher than that. Here's what we're looking at, because the idea is that people need to understand that Bitcoin is not like the stock market. So when it gets close to the 60s, in the 64,000 range, we're going to have another 30% drop. And so a third of that is going to be over, in the order of $20,000 drop. And so one way to look at it is, oh my God, Bitcoin's going to go down $20,000 in 2018. But another way is but it's going down to the mid 40s in 2018. So big deal, and then it'll go back up from there. It's just one of these consolidations. I do have numbers because of the emotional impact and the linguistics involved. I have numbers that would seem to suggest that we may hit 100,000 next year, in 2018. The way that they're shaping up within the long-term data is fully supported. It's complete and correct within our processing. There's no equivocation within it, because the linguistics have supporting sets that go to how the information is going to be received by the general population. So in other words, we have a range of emotions that are associated with this number of 100,000, so that people will be whispering it just in awe, and then other people are going to just be shouting it until they almost burst their lungs. So, it's going to be an interesting time.